Hello, YouTube. How's it going? I know I'm late to this, but I wanted to discuss it anyway. Now, I am a game journalist. I want to put that out there. I've been doing game journalism since I was 16. I'm 33 now. I have gone to PAX, E3, Comic Con as press media. I've met many different people from Naughty Dog, Ubisoft, from Sony, from Microsoft, a lot of companies, and I think I have a good understanding of the game journalism sphere and the game development sphere, but all to their own. Either way, this is what I'm discussing, and I feel like it's worthy of it. So this came out a few days ago. It's preview day for the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, a huge game I would love for Kotaku to be able to inform its millions of readers about firsthand. Unfortunately, Nintendo still has it blacklisted from advanced coverage, a move that I would argue is both unprofessional and coercive. Now, Kotaku has a now I have friends at Kotaku, so I hope that this is not like speaking too harsh on them, but I believe that it's valid criticism here. Like I want to try and remain neutral as much as possible, but a publisher has a right to deny coverage to anyone. They do. They don't have to give you early access to anything. Just because you have flashy numbers doesn't mean that you have a right to have early access to something. Like, for example, my main channel, AM Harbinger, it has 80k subs. I've gotten review copies from Square Enix. I like to think I'm on their good graces. I got one for Nier Automaton and for Forspoken and Octopath Traveler 2. Octopath Traveler 2 is freaking amazing. Go get it. Yes, I did get a review copy. I did a review on it. Please buy it. It's fantastic if you love RPGs. Either way, they gave it to me. They looked at my channel. They said, okay, you do game walkthroughs and guides. We think you have a good level head. You seem to have a really, like, they just analyze your channel. I don't know why they gave it to me, but they did. They gave me review copies, and yeah, it was within their right. I've also gotten a review copy for The Division 2 from Ubisoft and for Capcom from Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm part of their creators program. So it's within the company to decide whether they decide to give you anything. Like, this is free stuff. It costs them money. Like, it literally does. Yeah, it's just a game, but it's more to the benefit of you than it is to the company. Like, you gain early access to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, one of the biggest games to come out this year, one of the biggest franchises in the world, would definitely benefit you more than them, because they can go to any other outlet, any other YouTuber, and provide, sponsorships to them. Granted, Nintendo has kind of been on the warpath, if you've seen my Point Crow video, but I hope that issue is being resolved right now. That's Nintendo of Japan's issue, not really Nintendo of America. They're more in line of what content creation is, Nintendo of America. But Kotaku also has a history of, like, doing stuff like this. So this was when Metroid Dread first came out. They made this article, and I remember reading this. This has been altered. So this article was kind of praising emulation and where to emulate Metroid Dread when it first came out. Now, emulators are not really that big of a problem. They're basically just virtual machines meant to mimic consoles, but it's the ROMs that are really the issue. When you have a brand new game like Metroid Dread that comes out, and people are obviously going to, like, there are going to be people who justify it saying, like, no, I don't want to give Nintendo my money. They're a big corporate, billion-dollar corporation. They don't need my money. I refuse to buy the Switch because it's an underpowered console. Yeah, it is an underpowered console. But regardless of how you swing it, there are people out there who try to justify the fact they're stealing. They are. Look, I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but I'm all for emulation. If you can't get the game through any other means, that's a different story. Like, for example, Rule of Rose and Echo Knight. Those are two games. Or Transformers War for Cybertron, Transformers Fall for Cybertron, Spider-Man Edge of Time. It kind of goes on and on. If these are games that you cannot purchase anywhere else, like, what do you want people to do? But either way, this was not a really tasteful article. And you can see here down here, this was updated. An earlier version of this story, well, we'll read here. As per a request by Nintendo, we have updated the article to generally reassert that Kotaku does not promote or encourage piracy, which kind of that's what this article was doing. Kotaku declined to enact changes that blurred the line between suggestions and aggressive line edits to preserve editorial independence. An earlier version of the story was understood by many readers to be a direct suggestion to illegally download this just released game. We regret to this interpretation and apologize as the original article does not meet our editorial standards. Kotaku believes emulation is a vital part of the world of gaming, not at least when it comes to game preservation. Yeah, like I stated, if there's a game that you can't get or play by any legitimate means, that's on the company's fault. Like, there are games that are considered abandonware and they're put on the internet for people to play, like Croc. Croc is an old PlayStation game that is considered abandonware, and you can go play it. But there are games that are not abandonware that you can't get anywhere else, that are not available on any digital site and are next to impossible to obtain, like Echo Knight, Rules of Rose, Spider-Man Edge of Time, Transformers War for Cybertron. You literally have to get a physical copy of the game, which you likely through a third party, where the publisher doesn't make any of the money or the developers, and you have to get a console that can run it. And as we've seen with consoles like the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, those consoles are more likely to fail as time goes on, as opposed to like the Super Nintendo, which can still run strong but still needs regular maintenance. Unless you have a Sega Genesis, that thing breaks down really easy. Reporting on the phenomenon is not such as an encouraging way anyone to break the law and download the games they have not purchased. We believe our readers are intelligent adults capable of making such choices for themselves independently of us. Now, yeah, Nintendo was not happy about this, and I can see why. You have a brand new game. This is Samus's big return after years of hiatus. Yes, you can count Samus Returns for the 3DS, I guess, but that was a remake of his existing Metroid game. But still, this was a brand new release from Mercury Steam, who's known for the Castlevania reboot series, Lords of Shadows and Lords of Shadows 2. They're a fantastic company. I actually talked to a few developers. They put their heart and soul into this game, and it sold very well, but when you do something like this, it's not exactly, a good look, and I can see why Nintendo would blacklist them. Square Enix also blacklisted them because they wrote this article: Final Fantasy XIV dev has a terrible answer for why the game is so wide. Now, there are articles on Kotaku that are very, they're rage bait in a lot of ways, and honestly, I can see where your credibility kind of falls off the table when you have a lot of rage bait articles like this. And with Square Enix, you can't really, what's similar with Nintendo, why would they want to risk their credibility and have their developers, essentially this would be harassment in a large scale, because you can tell there are going to be people who look at this article and then go and attack the developers of Final Fantasy XIV, because there are people who are stupid like that. But that's their own actions. That's you're responsible for your own actions. But either way, Square Enix can look at something like this and say, yeah, we're not going to give you extensive coverage on our games anymore because we don't want our developers harassed or looked down upon. I mean, if you're a developer and you see this article, you're going to be like, what the hell? Not to mention, Japan is a whole different country with its own ideologies and norms. A lot of people in Japan don't care what the Western countries think. That's why anime is so popular as opposed to Western media. Lots of people prefer anime because it's about telling great stories as opposed to gender politics and a lot of stuff like that. And a lot of people don't want that in their cartoons and their movies and stuff like that. You can tell by the way that analytical data just shows. There's a time and place for it, but in their entertainment, it's not there. And they also had this very sus article. They don't have it anymore, as you can see here. But Yang Ye did a terrific video on it. Kotaku UK faces ridicule. I've recklessly accusing Persona 5 of using a disability slur, which was on the reveal of Joker in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which they used their iconic music, and they said, yeah, there was a disability slur when it wasn't. So, all in all, my stance remains the same. Publishers don't owe you anything. They don't. You can get 100 million unique users every day. They can still deny you. They don't have to give you anything. Everything that a publisher gives you, it doesn't even have to be a game company. Any company gives you for free. They want that return on investment. Capcom didn't put me into Capcom Creators Program because I asked nicely. They looked at my analytical data that I provided to them, and they said, okay, this guy's a good fit, and we'll give him a few nicks and nants, trinkets, some review keys here and there, and we'll get a return on our investment, because that's ultimately what it is. And if your return on investment is basically articles like this, you can't really blame them. Like, I can't blame Nintendo or Square Enix for doing this. I think Bethesda also blacklisted them, but I think that was because Jason Schreier, when he was at Kotaku, leaked information regarding a future Fallout project. I believe it was Fallout 76. But yeah, that is a little more difficult. I would say at that point, that's just like them being butthurt that someone is leaking information. But in this case, I can't really blame Nintendo for being like, hey, you kind of made a very bad article about kind of insinuating the piracy of our brand new AAA game. And I mean, Nintendo has attacked for worse. Like, we all see the Point Crow situation, and they've done less. They've, attacked for less. So I can't really blame them in this situation, particularly. Like, if I was in Nintendo's PR, I would have been like, no, we are not going to support you and invite you. We have other websites and other content creators we can go to who will give us just as much coverage. It also comes down to, look, I am a game journalist. I understand that you constantly are on the clock to produce articles that constantly get clicks. You are constantly having to reach that limit. You need to always meet your quota, and it's not always the best situation. Sometimes you feel like the pressure just collapses on top of you, and then you engage in some insidious actions, or you do things in order to try and get those clicks because your job is on the line. And we've seen that AI technology is rising up as more and more media outlets are cutting at staff. Like, Vice just cut their entire gaming section entirely. Fanbyte has been cutting staff left and right. Thank God I went independent with YouTube and stuff like that. But a lot of my colleagues are losing their jobs left and right. And with AI becoming much more of a viable option because it's cheap, it's effective, there's who are you going to get angry at? An AI bot? It's like, it's the way things are going. Like, freaking AI bots are creating video games now. It's insane. And writing novels. It's going to be crazy. And I know I go in a bit of a tangent there, but it's kind of how things are going right now. When you have to be on top of everything while at the same time try not, bite the hand that feeds you. But it's becoming more and more difficult to do so. Either way, tell me what you think about this entire situation. On my side, even though I have friends at Kotaku, I think it's within Nintendo's right to do what they choose to do. And judging by past articles from Kotaku, I can't blame them for saying, like, we just don't want this headache on top of everything that could possibly happen with this game's release, because this game could launch broken. I doubt that it's going to happen. It's not going to be another Jedi Survivor situation, but it could happen. There could be a massive leak where the entire game leaks online. I don't know if that's happened yet or yet. It's much more common nowadays. Like, a lot of things can happen, and they just don't want another, like, article like this or this or this coming out. So you have to weigh your pros and cons. Either way, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. I'm signing out. See ya.